Evolution of Civilization, Part 1, Our Existence and Our Story. Welcome to a new series called Evolution of Civilization. This history series is designed to introduce profound topics that shaped our lives and our civilization. It's an overview of topics without getting lost in too many details or academic debates. The hope is that you gain a broader perspective of your place in the world and a more intimate connection with the arcs and themes, the context and considerations, the ideas and decisions that shaped it. It's about telling our collective story in an unfamiliar way, hopefully offering insights and perspectives that may add to the understanding of ourselves. The first 3 episodes were created to set the stage and give some context to the main series. The first episode will focus on the profoundness of our existence as the foundation. This most obvious phenomenon is ironically overlooked, and acknowledging our existence is a meaningful place to start our real human story. The second episode will set sail into the cosmos to view the highlights of our elemental past, from the beginning of time as we currently know it, to the origin of the Earth. In the third episode, we'll travel through the human past to arrive at the dawn of civilization. From there, we'll begin our primary task of walking along the paths of the monuments created during our evolution. We will look at things like the history of language and the origin of cities, for example. So, first things first. Let's begin again at the beginning. When telling a story, we usually begin at the beginning. But this story has a completely different kind of beginning than all others. In the story of us, we must think about our existence first, which means that we start with our very being here and now. We don't begin the story with thoughts. We begin with our being, with our senses. The fact that we are listening to this, the fact that there is anything to listen to. And our existence is not mundane, despite how it often appears. The mundane is meaningless in the face of existence. It's the deepest of all things. And that requires a different beginning than a bedtime story. Here we are, in existence. Right now is a miracle. It's strange that we never talk about existence, just the plain fact that we exist, nothing more. The most fundamental thing of all is almost never talked about, similar to death. Perhaps these things are too real for most of us. Perhaps they are too deep and important to be left to casual conversation. Doesn't it strike you as odd that we're here? That there is this voice, you listening? We're on this gigantic rock that's spinning around a giant fireball, one of billions making up our galaxy alone, and countless other galaxies. That there is life. Out of the infinity of space and time, here we are, now. And that this voice, and yours, and all the others, are the expression of that universe, unfolding continually. What a miracle existence is. The subject rarely comes up. And if it does, it's funneled into questions like, why are we here? Or what does it mean? What is our purpose? And other existential questions, which are great, but are really a side note to the simple fact of existence. Existence. That which is occurring right now, and keeps occurring. Out of nowhere, here we are. Quite miraculous when you think about it. But if existence is so profound, why does it seem so ordinary? I think existence is a miracle, but existing, on the other hand, is rarely that for most people. Certainly the fact that life survives by consuming itself is not the best way to exist. But it's a miracle for us to experience existence. And especially now that we understand the world so well, our knowledge of it is unprecedented in all of history, and probably in all of space and time. So it's always great to retell our story. Everything that exists, including you and me right now, is an expression of the universe itself. We are a way for the universe to know itself. We are the universe, and we have woken up to ourselves. As the universe, we see ourselves when we look out. That's quite a profound and humbling notion. To be connected to everything, to be everything, across space and time, all at once. We keep popping into existence in different forms. Always ourself, the one universe, just varieties of it. One of these forms has developed over countless generations to learn and understand what has happened. And occasionally we look back at ourselves in awe. All other animals, oblivious to such knowledge, engaged in a hostile world without such understanding. What's more is that they exist in a world where life survives by killing, and there's no way out. The greatest of all horrors is occurring for most beings. Since this fundamental acknowledgement of ourselves is so rare, it seems we've gotten ahead of ourselves in our daily lives, as if the train showed up and we were born, and we got on without question. And now we're going full speed ahead in a direction that we can barely understand or control. For good reason, of course. That being daily living is demanding. The process of becoming civilized in a world spinning out of control since the beginning of time is not easily reconciled. Our civilization has been in damage control since the beginning. Our first task, then, is to be aware of our existence in an authentic way. First, simply to notice it, and then to keep noticing it, to develop an awe for it, to remember it, and to share it. Once we've collectively recognized the profoundness of our existence, then we'll be in a better position for learning how to live in the world. We can appreciate our existence by spending time in reflection, mindful of our situation. Beyond that, we can tell stories about it, about ourselves, where we came from, where we're going, a practice going back to our origins. What's new in the modern world is the bountiful knowledge that informs our stories. And that's what this series is all about. So now on to our story. The types of stories that will be covered here are very familiar to us, yet at the same time largely unknown in any concrete form. For example, more than half the people on Earth now live in cities, including most of you. And that may be the only place you've ever lived. But this is altogether new for humans. So where did cities come from? When did they originate and why? That's a topic for a future episode. Furthermore, we think of history in too far abstract terms, as if it happened so long ago and therefore largely alien to us. A reflection of our education system in part, but also due to humanity's historic lack of knowledge. Only in the past few hundred years have we compiled all this data, and only now are we beginning to sift through it and put it all together. With this new information, we can see how recent history really is, that all these things just happened. By picking the right moments, ideas, and connections, largely unknowable until the modern age, we can revitalize our real and interesting heritage. At times in the past we could do this, but only a select number of people and about very select topics, without ways to share it, and in a palatable way for a general audience. In our modern world, what is significant is being able to see all of this at once, and picking the right things to focus on. We'll grab certain aspects from the timeline that show us patterns that couldn't be seen otherwise. Our new knowledge allows us to create new threads that connect us to so many ideas. By looking at the history of language, for example, we can see new cultures emerge, and we can see where they spread and what they brought with them. We'll shrink the historic timeline to make long ago events seem modern and relevant. Even going back 10,000 years, people are much the same as they are now, with similar feelings, desires, wishes, needs, urges. The main differences are what we have around us and what we do with these things. In many ways, that's not much of a difference. What we wear changes, but not whether we have clothes. Where we live changes, but not the existence of communities. All the things that we don't notice because they're so obvious and plentiful just started recently. Nearly all that we know is from the past 10,000 years. A blink of an eye in the history of the cosmos, the earth, and life. Going back 10,000 years, we just began to produce metals. We just developed agriculture. We just learned to really navigate by the stars. Humanity just started cities. They just started language and writing and reading and schools. Likewise, we just started things like wars. Wars only started recently, and they're not inevitable. In the past few hundred years, we just discovered the micro world of germs and atoms, the macro world of space. We just discovered our heritage, both human and animal. We just created democracies. Most of us just moved from rural spaces into cities. We've only just now begun to explore space. Now I'd like to move on to what this series is not. This is not a detailed or thorough account. That's reserved for academics and people wanting long expositions in book form. Every single sentence can be taken apart and questioned, analyzed and studied by academics who can find much more detail and add clarification. I can even find issues with anything covered if given enough time. That said, the topics are thoroughly researched from academic sources. So in closing, the world is so filled with info that it's daunting and overwhelming. In fact, it's impossible to take it all in. What happens then is that we don't learn the truly significant events and we collectively forget. In their place, we learn what the controlling interests want us to learn, like parents, popular culture, government. What is helpful is standing back and looking at our heritage in a new way. It can give us context to show us who we truly are, which is much greater than we thought. It guides us forward where we had not seen a path before. It's important to tell a new human story, one that contains our significant events, beyond the events that we learned in school by authority, the ones that made us truly human, the ones that happened over generations, too long to tell without our modern knowledge, the ones that happened over great spaces, too large to comprehend until now, the ones that were created by the common people, those who built the world, those who suffered from a lack of understanding of it. It's relatively recent that we compiled the story to tell. We lack the macro view. And now we're in the early stages of retelling that story. To borrow a line, my hope is that after our exploration, we arrived where we started, and we know the place for the first time.